Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Spaniard School of Student Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie the Spaniard Brenneman, and this is episode number 50. Who belongs? You belong. So this is episode number 50, and I want to thank you all for either watching on YouTube or listening via the podcast app. I started this podcast, Spaniard School, to help you students, to help you navigate the ups and downs in life, to feel comfortable in the decisions you make, to work hard, to get back up when you get knocked down, to kind of find your place in the world, to do your best, feel your best. And so I want to thank you all. It's been 50 episodes, weekly episodes. I really appreciate you being here. And I really enjoy this, and I hope that it is helping you out. So today's episode number 50, Who Belongs? You Belong. So this episode is inspired by a recent picture that I saw. And before I get into that picture, a poster, actually, I want to give you a little bit of background as to why I created this episode. So a lot of times, for a lot of us, we have this voice inside our head, or we have this feeling inside our head that we're not good enough, that we can't, that success is for other people, that we're unworthy or not good enough for that thing that we want in life. Not everybody, but a lot of us, even like the best of the best, have battled with this type of thing before in their lives. And a word for it, or kind of an explanation of that phenomenon, is self-sabotage. So if you self-sabotage, it's like you prevent your own self from succeeding. That's what self-sabotage means. Like, rather than being a supporter or best friend to yourself, you're an enemy of yourself, or you're like the worst fan ever, or you're a hater of yourself in terms of working against yourself to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. And so this self-sabotage, or these limiting beliefs, feeling like you can't, you're not good enough, it's for them over there, and you don't have what it takes to succeed. I dealt with that for a large portion of my life, coming up in the sport of wrestling, in academics, socially even. You know, I would feel, or even though I would succeed in the classroom or succeed on the wrestling mat or on the football field or wherever it was. And I was a popular kid. I had a lot of friends in school, but even so, with all of those things going for me, I would still talk myself down. Like, I would still work against myself, and there were consequences to it. You know, when you do that to yourself, when you talk badly to yourself about yourself, it prevents you from having the best life possible. It prevents you from doing your best. And I'm not, I am talking academically, I am talking athletically, I am talking socially, but also just like your sense of well-being, how you feel about yourself. Take any moment throughout the day and kind of how you feel at that moment. When you're constantly working against yourself, it's generally not a good thing. And so, the bigger reason why I created this show is to help you through those times. But specifically this episode and what I've prepared in front of me is to help you get through that, because there are consequences to it. I lost multiple wrestling matches because of not believing in myself. I probably missed out on friendships because I didn't have the confidence to maybe say hello to someone or do a thing that would have connected me with another person. So it's this self-sabotage. It's not something that you do that has no consequences. Like, it actually makes your life worse, and it can make it worse in a variety of ways. So what I want to do is help you get past that. And it's not an easy thing. You're not just going to snap your fingers and be healed of this negative talk and this self-limiting beliefs, but it is possible, because I am a walking, talking, breathing example of getting past that talk. So first and foremost, I want to lay out kind of the reality of the situation. If you're dealing with this self-sabotage, or you're dealing with negative self-talk, or you walk around and think like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not strong enough, or I don't come from the right place, or they have all of these opportunities and I have none. If you find yourself saying those things to yourself, understand that there's two things that I wrote down in front of me that I want you to start focusing on. Trying, right? Trying. just trying. Whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you want to do, the commitment to yourself, the decision to yourself that I will try and I will continue to try and I will never give up. That's like the first seed that you want to plant. The second thing is hard work. Or the persistence, right? The hard work, the persistence, the day in and day out pursuing this thing that you want. So maybe it's to develop self-confidence. Maybe it's to fit in at school. Maybe it's to do better in class. Maybe it's to develop a YouTube channel or a TikTok that gets millions of followers and views, and you have to create valuable content. How am I going to do that? Whatever it is, that thing that you want, understand you have to make a decision to try and to never give up. And second, and I'll explain this here in a little bit, understand the importance of work, hard work, actually putting in time and effort. Because yes, you might get lucky and win the lottery, but 99% of the time, probably 99.9% of the time, it's going to take hard work. And those two things, the decision to try and continue trying and the decision to work hard in time, those things develop belief in yourself. And when you have that belief in yourself, the sky is the limit. The world is yours, right? You're not going to win all the time. You're not going to get $1 million. You're not going to be the coolest kid in town. But the possibilities in life, when you commit to trying and never giving up, and when you commit to working hard, it's not always fun. It's not always easy. But those two things, after enough time, will result in belief. So for me personally, I'm going to use the sport of wrestling because it's so specific and it represents that battle for me. So through my life, I would always, look at the other guy and think, oh, he's got awesome wrestling shoes, or, oh, his coach is so-and-so, or he's from this town, or he's got awesome wrestling shoes. And I'm just Charlie. I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't have big enough muscles. I'm going to get tired. All this negative talk against myself. And it would just kind of work against me. But I had committed to try my best. And I had committed to working hard, trying my best in the sport of wrestling, trying my best to develop confidence in myself so I wouldn't doubt myself, and then working hard day in and day out to get those things. And ultimately, in my very last year of wrestling, after enough trying, after enough hard work, it clicked for me. And I had this great senior season of college wrestling. And it was like probably like the best I could have ever done at that time. It felt great. So I took that confidence and I kind of segued it or transferred it over into the sport of professional fighting. And I made a decision. Right? No one else was going to make this decision for me. No one else can give you the confidence that you need to do what you want to do in life. You can get support. I hope you have great friends. I really and truly hope that you get that support and encouragement from this podcast. But at the end of the day, you have to decide. You have to decide I'm good enough. You have to decide I'm committed. I'm going to put in the work. I'm never going to give up. And I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what. That's a decision that you make and only you can make. Right? Whether you have millions of people supporting you or whether you feel like you have no one supporting you. At the end of the day, that decision is your decision. And so I had, through a lot of tears, through a lot of hard work, through a lot of ups and downs, gotten to this point where finally I believed in myself. And so I made a decision to pursue professional fighting and to try and fight or get a contract to fight in the UFC. Looking back, there was like, if I'm speaking honestly, there was like no reason to believe that I could do that. I was not a fighter. I was not an aggressive person. I certainly didn't know the technique of fighting, but I made a decision to pursue it. And so through my books, through my assembly programs, through et cetera, there's enough information online that if you don't know the whole story, you can Google it or read my books or listen to the podcast to learn that story. But I want to tell you something specifically, an experience in fighting that really solidifies the point of this, right? Making a decision that you belong. So yesterday I was scrolling through some old pictures and I had a pretty good fighting career. You can see some of the pictures behind me if you're watching on YouTube, but it wasn't the best, right? I certainly would have liked to do better, but I can look myself in the mirror and say to myself, you did your best. You didn't let fear, you didn't let doubt, you didn't let that self-sabotage hold you back. If you lost, you lost. I have peace with that. But I was looking at pictures yesterday and I saw this UFC poster. So every time I would have a UFC fight, it would be in a different city, a different place, sometimes a different country. And right when we would arrive, let's say it's in Toronto, right when we would arrive to Toronto, we would get picked up in the airport and we would get driven to a hotel. We would walk into the hotel. We would walk into like this big kind of conference room. And there were UFC people all around. Different things going on. All the fighters were kind of coming into the city at that time. So like your name, et cetera, different things you had to do. You had to step on the scale to get your weight checked. You had to get your medicals. You had to make sure all your paperwork was turned in and all this like stuff that you had to do beforehand, that it was all good. And then one of the other things you had to do is you sat at a table. Let's say there were 3 or 4 other fighters who arrived there at the same time. You would sit at a table. You would get a marker, a Sharpie. I know this is a pen in my hand, but you'd get a Sharpie and you'd pick a spot around a table and you'd sit down and there'd be these event posters, these UFC posters, and every, fighter would be sitting around and then you'd sign your name. There were like 100 of these posters. Then they'd remove that one. Then you'd sign your name. Then they'd remove that one. Then you'd sign your name. And you had to do this like 100 times in a row. And so we got to keep one of them. So every UFC fight I had, I have an event poster with all the signatures of all the fighters on that card. So they're really neat keepsakes. But I saw that picture yesterday and I saw the other names on that paper. And I saw the 2 main event fighters, Dan Henderson and John Jones, on that poster. And even today at 41 years old, almost 42, I thought to myself, I can't believe that I'm on that poster. And then I thought to myself, you belong on that poster. You worked to get on that poster. And it took that kind of boyhood Charlie who just thought like, oh, the people on the poster, the people in the UFC, the professional people, the best people, wow, they've got something I don't have. And when I looked at that poster yesterday and I saw my name on that poster, alongside some of the greatest fighters ever in the history of the sport, it reminded me and it made me want to share with you that you can be on that quote poster too. You can be in that circle too. You can do that thing you want to do too. Because let me tell you something, if I can do it, you can do it. And getting on that poster, right, or belonging or getting the confidence to believe in yourself, it doesn't make every problem go away. Not at all. But once you can get to a point of believing in yourself, making the decision to believe, and then committing to never giving up, committing to trying your best, committing to a lot of hard work, once you do that, the whole world opens up. And at the end of the day, when you realize, hey, that's my decision, whether I've got 1 million supporters or whether everyone's telling me I'm terrible, at the end of the day, I decide to try my best, to keep moving forward, to work hard. And ultimately, I trust that that will result in belief in myself. And once you have that belief in yourself, the world is waiting for you. So don't wait, start now. And I hope to wrap this up, I want to reiterate that you belong. I want to reiterate my appreciation and my thanks for you either watching here on YouTube or listening via the podcast app. This is Spaniard School. I'm the Spaniard, former Spanish teacher, UFC fighter, and this podcast is for you. It's to help you navigate or get through the ups and downs in life. And I hope you come back every Tuesday, 4 p.m. for a new episode. My website is charliespaniard.com. This is Spaniard School on any podcast app, youtube.com/CharlieSpaniard. However, wherever you want to listen, I appreciate it. And I look forward to next week's episode. Remember, you belong, my friends. See ya.